Hello and welcome back, everyone. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and actually, it's countdown time to Christmas. So I know, well, at the time I'm recording, and I think by the time I'm releasing it on the same day. So Christmas is 8 days away, but really, you should be thinking about it not in just number of days, but number of puzzles. It is 11 puzzles away, and today we're playing 11 Pipers Piping, of course. And you can see here we've got a shimmering great hall with a whole bunch of pipers piping away. Not really sure what the occasion is. Surely it's just celebration of the end of the year and Christmas as well. I mean, look at that gentleman in the bottom right though. He's got a clarinet and a flute, which I don't think is actually that unusual in an orchestra. It wouldn't be unusual for if you don't have that many players to actually have them play multiple instruments that they swap between. Right. What did I do? Hang on. I made a mistake. Bear with me. I think I know what the mistake was, but let me just quickly correct it. Some Christmas lights as well. So if you see in the background there, I've got my two soft toys who traveled around with us quite a bit early on. A frog, a zebra, they're both wearing Christmas hats. There's a bit of Christmas lights. Shall we get started? Let's take a look at today's puzzle. Now, we've got 11 Pipers Piping by Willpower. And you can see, aside from the fact that we've got a piper here piping and playing music, it looks like a couple of notes coming out there, you can see very much the reference towards 11 absolutely everywhere all over this grid, with 11 being written in all of these cages that I've just highlighted. So, rule sets, quite a few of them today. First one, we all know it, we love it. Normal Sudoku rules apply. That means place the digits 1 to 9 in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. No repeats in any of these, pretty standard. We've got German whispers. So numbers on green lines are at least 5 apart from their neighbors on the line. So for example, if this digit here was a 2, its neighbor has to be 5 or more away. That would be, let's say, 7, 8, or 9. And then this would have to be 5 or more away from the 7. Let's say that was, I don't know, let's go with an 8. So to be 5 or more away, that could be 1 or 3. Obviously with the 2 in here, I couldn't repeat it in there. And you end up with this oscillation of low digits from 1, 2, 3, 4, high digits from 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on and so forth. I did not include a 5 in any of these. I'm sure you can figure out why if you give it a good try. We also have Dutch whispers. So numbers on red lines are at least 4 apart. Now, the challenge I always find with Dutch whispers is because it's 4 apart, now I can actually have from a 2, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And if this was actually a 9, I can actually have something that is 4 apart that includes a 5. And then the 5 can go back to another digit again, which could actually be a high digit. So the tricky thing about Dutch whispers is it doesn't consistently oscillate from low, high, low, high. You can actually have a 5 on it and therefore change the oscillation. I picked a bad example here because that clearly can't go back up to 9. But you could actually essentially go high, middle, high again, or even better, low. And then you've just sort of changed that pattern of high, low, high, low. So something to keep an eye out for sure as you look at these Dutch whisper lines. We also have RENBANs. That's all the purple lines that we have in here. The purple lines, let me read how it's written. Numbers on purple lines are each a set of non-repeating consecutive numbers in any order. So on this 4-cell line, for example, if that was a 2, these can actually be 1, 3, and 4. That would be one way of doing it. I can also remove the 1 and add a 5, so it's 2, 3, 4, 5, that all works. What I can't do is remove the 5 and add a 6 in here because they're no longer consecutive. The 6 is not really consecutive to any of the digits on the line. What I also cannot do is go with 2, 3, and 4 and another 2, 3, and 4. Can't repeat digits on RENBAN lines, just keep that in mind. What more do we have? We've got KROPKI pairs and killer cages, so nearly there with the rule sets. Let's start with the KROPKI pairs. So numbers with a white dot between them are consecutive. and numbers with a black dot between them are in a ratio of 2 to 1. Not all possible dots are given. I'm feeling a little bit blind. I'm not seeing any black dots at the moment. I am seeing white dots, so I know if that cell is a 2, for example, to be consecutive, given it's connected with this white dot, this cell would have to be 1 or 3, so it is consecutive with a 2. Of course, it cannot be a 4, because that's no longer consecutive with a 2. And I don't see any black dots, which isn't necessarily in itself a problem, because it does explicitly say not all possible dots are given. So nothing wrong, for example, with me having 2 and 4 adjacent without a black dot in between them because they're in a 2 to 1 ratio. That is not a problem under today's rule sets. Last rule, and very much paying an homage to 11 pipers piping, tons of killer cages that are 11s. Numbers in cages sum to the number in the top left corner of the cage. You can see the cages are outlined with these dashed lines. And you can see that the sum of these dashed lines is highlighting a couple of cells, and the sum is written in the top left corner. So these 2 cells have to add up to 11. These 4 cells have to add up to 30. These 2 cells have to add up to 5. So if you're not intimidated by just the sheer number of rules that we have in here, and you feel like joining these pipers and celebrating, the end of the year, and hopefully a lovely, joyful time that you are all having with your friends and family, link will be in the description down below as usual for you to play along. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. So, there's no shortage of places to start, if I'm honest, but a cage that's 30 is fairly easy to get going with. That has to be 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now, that's the maximum that you can put in any 4 cells, and they add up exactly to 30. There's no other way of doing it. Now, the other thing that I've also noticed is these are not 6s. If I put a 6 on here, I need, on this German whisper line, a double 1 to be 5 away, and that would immediately break the box, as you can see, because I've created 2 1s in the same box and column. No 6s in there means the 6 is in this white KROPKI dot. This is now a 6-7 pair. These are not 7s. One of them is a 9 and will have a 4 next to it. I don't know which one it is. The other one would be, well, actually, I know something else. I can actually place a digit. I don't know why it took me so long to do this. That's a 5. Because 5s can't be on German whispers. We've already covered. 5 are not part of the 30 cage. That's the only place for a 5. We need to have a low digit in here because we've already done all 4 high digits in box 3. That has to be a low digit. That's got to be the 4, so it's consecutive with a 5. You can see down here that's coming back down to a 4 because 6 is not available. This was 4 or 6, and 6 is already taken in the column. Because that's a 4, that's a 9, that's an 8. And then we're left with 1, 2, and 3. We can put them basically anywhere. Excellent start. It's a shame the German whisper lines are not connected, though, because it's always helpful when you know what the polarities are on these lines. So I am going to stick with low digits are in blue, as in 1, 2, 3, and 4. High digits are 6, 7, 8, and 9, and they're in red. Think, thermometer hot, thermometer cold. This is consecutive. It's got to be a 3 or 5. Don't know yet. The fact that this is a 4 and I have a 5 cage in here, that tells me that has to be the 2, 3. Therefore, that has to be a 5. And now I've got 2, 3, 4, 5. I have at least 6 and 7, possibly 8. Not 8. So this is actually 1, 6, 7. Sorry, 8 not available in the column. And I'm just looking at this lengthy RENBAN line. And the fact that we've got all of these 2, 3, 4, 5 are consecutive. We need 3 more digits. Now, the options could have been 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But because the 8 is in the column, that means it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Clearly, the 6 and 7 are the ones that are adjacent. That's the one, or consecutive, I should say. We've got another 8, 9 pair. The 8 in here will be joint with a 3. The 9 will be joint with a 2 to make an 11 in this cage. In fact, we can do this a little bit easier. That's 1, 2, and 3 in the bottom because we've got everything else pencil marked in column 8. 1, 2, and 3 with 2 on the KROPKI dot. 2 has to be here. A trick for white KROPKI dots is it's always with an odd and an even. From 1, 2, and 3, the only one that is an even digit is the 2. Therefore, that's not a 2, that's a 3, that's an 8, that's a 9, 9. That's not 3 anymore, that's a 1, 2 pair. Can't have 1 inside an 11 cage. I would have to have a 10 in this cell. So that's 9, that's 2, that's 1. This is going swimmingly well. This one tells me this is a 2, 3 pair. That's the only place for a 1. I need in here 4 and 5 I'm going to venture. And to finish this box, it's 6, 7, and 8. A 4, am I really going to go through all the options in here? I'm really not tempted to. Yeah, maybe, maybe not. I will leave it for now. What I did spot, though, is this. We've got this 4-cell RENBAN line and already a 1 on it, which tells me this cannot be a 5. Because even if these are 2 and 3, and the 1, I think I actually used that as an example, that can't be a 5, it won't be connected. So that's 4, that's 5. This is therefore 4 or 6. If that's a 6, that's a 5. If that's a 4, that's a 7. To make sure they add up to 11. This is a 2, 3 pair now, which gives me the polarity on this huge German whisper line, which is very helpful. All of these have to be low. All of these have to be high. Now, on a German whisper line, so 11, there's so many ways of doing it. I could have 6, 5, but clearly, because of the fact that there is a German whisper line, I can't even have a 5 on here. You could have a 7, 4, but they're still too close. They're only 3 apart, and they need to be 7, 4? Yeah, only 3 apart. They need to be 5 or more apart. So I think 8, 3 works, as does 9, 2. So this is either 9, 2, 8, 3, and if there's any other cages that we have, unfortunately that was the only one, we could have actually pencil marked it in a very similar fashion. The fact that this is a minimum of 6, it's so tempting. You'd think that this is blue, but it isn't, because 6 can go with a 5, and 5 is clearly not a low digit. It's a middling digit, the only one of its kind. Got 2, 3 pair. That's a low digit, and it's not 4. And it couldn't be 4 because that would require a double 9. That's a 1. So unfortunately, it eliminates almost nothing from these low digits. Where can 4 go? Still in many places. What is this low digit? It's not 1. It's not 2, 3, because we've got them in the row. That's 4. Therefore, that's 9. That's now 6, 7, or 8. Losing a bit of steam now, isn't it? I was kind of making like really quick progress. We're like at the 6-minute mark, and more than a third of the puzzle was covered, and suddenly it's just like came to a crashing halt. Right, a 4, 8 or more away, 4 or more away means it's 8 or 9. That's quite restricted. The fact that this can't be a 5 means I can somewhat oscillate this. And this can't be a 1 either. So that means that's not a 5. And in fact, this is not a 1. So that was always going to be a high digit. So it's not going to be a 5. So we have some colors, which is not a bad thing on a Dutch whisper line. We've got all the low digits seeing this cell. So this is from 5, 6, and 7, not 8 or 9, it's not available. Now, whichever one it is, I guess the unfortunate part is if that is a 5, that can be a 9. Otherwise, I'd be very tempted to say this has to be a low digit and it's 1 and 2, 3 and 4 are not available, but I can't even make that statement. Let me have a think. Where do I go from here? We got the 2-3 pairs sort of lining up. I know there's another 2-3 in here, but you know, almost tempted to say, so what? It's not. Minimum of 2, not a 9. This is 7 or 8. I think this has to be a 7. No, it doesn't. If that's an 8, that has to be a 2 and then a 9. If that's a 7, that can't be. Yeah, so this is always 2, 9, I think. Because you see, if that's a 7, 3 is too big to be next to it. It has to be a 2. If that's an 8, that forces this to be a 9, and therefore this is still a 2. So this is a 2, 9 always. Doesn't help us with the 7, 8, but it gives us a 2. It's also a 3, remember, because of the 2, 3 pairs that we've got in here lining up. This is 7 or 8, both work. This unfortunately eliminates nothing when you have a 9 on here. What am I going to put? This is 7 or 8. It can't be 6 because, you know, it sees 2 cells in the same box. And it can't be 9. I'm going to say this can be 6. No, it can't be, because this can't be a 1. And it can't be a 9. So we've got a 7, 8 pair, which is helpful. They're looking at this. That's the 6. That's the 7. This is now not a 4. This is 2 or 3. The fact that one of these is a 7 means that this definitely has to be the 2. That's the 3. That's the 2. A 7 will be joined with a 4, which it can be, and it can't be joined with a 3 if it's an 8. So that is a 4, that is a 7, that's an 8. Then we've got 2 cells in here that I can just fill in, surely. Well, that 9 has to be in there alongside a 2, and this has to be the 5. You know, it's really making you work for these digits now, isn't it? A 5, well, whatever this cell is between the 8 and the 9, it's not a 4 and not a 2. This is 1 or 3. It's not 2, 4, and it can't be a 3 next to a 7. That's a 1. Unfortunately, that means I can actually truly, well, this no longer is a 6 because that's a minimum of 2, 3. But this can be a 6 because I've got a double 1 around it. So this is 6, 7, or 8. Well, it's not a 7. I've got already 7 in the box. So this is 6 or 8. I have a 1 looking at this 3. I'm kind of surprised I missed that. So what do I have? What do I know about this 11? It's not 9, 2. It's not 8, 3. It can be 4, 7, and it's not 6, 5. So it is definitely 7, 4, and we know where they go. 7 and 4. If I can type, that's got to be the 1. And the last digit in this box is a 6, which gives me a 5 in here. What do I know about this setup? I've got 3, 6, and 8 to finish. Can't really exclude anything at this point. 3, 6, and 8, I think. 3 would go with an 8. That's available. 6 would go with a 5. That's not available. And 8 would go with a 3. Not available. We've already pencil marked the 3 in here because, yeah, we've got a 2, 3 pair. So that's an 8. That's a 3. Therefore, that's a 7. That's not 3. That's another 6, 8. That's quite unfortunate that this is, yeah. It's kind of leading up to being, you know, a 6 at this point. That 7 is looking at this 6, 7. That's 6. That's 7. We know what these 2 cells are now. This is a 3, 9 pair that we can't resolve. 1, 2, and 3. Still don't know much about the 4. It's not in this cell. It can be one of these 2. That's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 5 and 6 as well. 5 is not in here. It could be one of these. And amazingly, any of these can be 6. So I'm tempted. Oh, hang on. 2 staring at the 2, 3. And 2. I mean, I knew that was a 2 because I placed a 7. I kind of ignored that for a while. So I feel like this is probably resolvable. So if this is 6, 5, that would be 4, that would be 8, and then this would be 7. If this is 4, 7, I mean, there's even more options now. 4, 7 would make this 5, 6, 6, 8. And this would be, goodness me, like a ton of options. I don't know if I want to even pencil mark this. Ignore that. That's not resolvable yet. I'll think about it later. This is a high digit that's at least 4 or more away. It's not 7 because it's gone in the column. This is 8 or 9, which gives me an 8-9 pair in a row. That's not 8. This has to be a low digit. It's not 1, it's not 3. It could be 2 or 4, not 5. Which doesn't eliminate either of the 8s or 9s. Still works. Three gives me 2, 3. I'm sure I've got to think a bit harder about this Dutch whisper line. I think that's kind of the key to it. This 2, yeah, it still gives me 7 or 8. Although this 7 actually resolves it. That's an 8. That's not a 5, which is very helpful. That gives me colors. That's high, that's definitely low. It can be 1 low, which means that can still, it's not a 5. So that's high. And that can't be a 5. That is low. Again, that can't be a 5. That is high. This can be a 5. So, I mean, I'm just going to call it. Can this be 9? It could be. There's nothing stopping it. So I'm just going to call it blue-gray for now to remind me that it can be a 5 and just think about the others. This is not 3 or 4. That's 1 or 2. 5, 6, 7. This is 5 or 6. It can't be a 7. That's a 5, 6 pair because there's no 7. That's the only place the 7 can be, which still allows me to do 1 and 2. 5 and 6. We need a 4. No, we need a 1. 1 is not here. It's the only place for a 1 is in there. That's the other 5, 6. It's not a 6. That's 5. That's 6. That's not 5. That's a 4, 6 pair. That is the 5. Is the 4, 6 pair resolved either? No. This is 1 or 2. This is not 6. It can be 7, 8, or 9. This can be 1. It's not 2. It's not 3. But it probably could be 4. Not 7. That's the only compromise. This is basically anything else. Hang on, let me think about this. Because that isn't 1 or 2. They're gone from the column. That can't be 6 and it can't be 7. This is also 8 or 9. And 1, 2, 3, 4, that tells me that is a 5. And therefore that is the 9. There we go. Progress. That's not 9, that's 7 or 8. Am I not? Yeah, I have resolved this. That's 3, that's 9. That's another 7, 8. An unresolved 7, 8, I should say. That's a 1 staring at the 1, 2. That's a 2. 7 and 8 both still work. 2, 4, 1, 4. Oh, that 5, surely that, yeah, that does work. That gives me the 7, the 4, the 6, the 8. That was a 6 in the end after all. That's a 4, therefore that's a 1, 2. I need a 3. I need a 6, which gives me the 7. None of these are 7. We've got a 6, 8 pair that are not resolved. The 7, though, gives me this 8, this 7. And the 8 bounces back to give me 6 and 8. Very nearly there. That's a 1. I need a 3 in here somewhere. That's the place for it. A 4, that's got to be it. A 5, that's in here. And if I've not made any mistakes, that's a 6 and the finish for today's puzzle. 556 solvers. Doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's been out for a little while. I just wanted to leave it until the rundown to Christmas. But phenomenal puzzle as usual, Willpower. I just want to avoid a similar mistake I've done in the past where I've just didn't have the correct sums before I mark this as a genuine answer and force everyone to potentially have incorrect answers. But that looks pretty good to me. Nothing seems to be broken. All the cages add up correctly. The German Whispers seems fine. Seemingly. Yeah. Yeah. And the Dutch Whispers seems good to me. So that looks like a valid solution. Hope that you guys enjoyed today's puzzle. A little bit of the Christmas decoration and cheer. I probably should actually have a drink on the next recording, although I don't know if that's actually allowed on YouTube. And see you back for the next one. Bye for now.